In this video, guys, we'll look at fast fashion stocks. Stay tuned. Hey traders, a warm welcome to you. All right, so fast fashion seems to be one of the bigger growth areas, especially in the UK. Not sure if it's the same in the US, pretty sure it probably is, but I'm more familiar with the UK market and more familiar with some of the brands that we've got. So let's look at some of those from an investment perspective, a trading perspective, and let's have a little bit of a deep dive into some of the stocks. So fast fashion generally is considered as something where manufacturers now, or suppliers or brands, can get something from catwalk to store very, very quickly. So the idea is that people see it as a fashion thing and the catwalk or in sort of the fashion area, and then literally a week later, 2 weeks later, short time later, it's available to buy, or a similar product is available to buy at a reasonably low price. A lot of these are online, and the idea is that because there's been so many improvements in supply chain management, so many improvements in manufacturing, so many improvements in just generally being able to get stuff from A to B quickly, means that brands can capitalize and companies can capitalize on this by saying, hey, this has got a lot of attention. And also don't forget, guys, they can use stuff like social media very, very easily to, it's like a voting system, right? They put up pictures of stuff, or they share pictures of catwalk models, or share pictures of new things and whatever it may be. And then it's like almost say, well, this gets a lot of traction, a lot of people have shared it, a lot of people have liked it, a lot of people have commented on it. That might be justification enough to roll out and order however many 100,000 units, 10,000 units, 1,000 units, I'm not sure the order of magnitude, depending on the size of the company, isn't it? And then get that into the store quickly. And you might even find, and that could be an online store, most likely going to be an online store. And you might even find, guys, that these companies are literally changing and adding new lines a couple of times a week. Now, there's a bit of controversy over this kind of thing, because some people are saying, well, you know, it's encouraging a throwaway generation, because a lot of these like dresses and you know, items are really low priced, and they're kind of the idea is that it capitalizes on the momentum very quickly of that. People buy it because it's not that expensive, it's inexpensive, and it appeals to the demographic it's aimed at. They wear it for a bit, maybe it goes out of fashion, and then move on to the next one. So there's a bit of controversy on it, but anyway, what I want to do in this video is kind of look at some of the charts, look at some of the companies, and maybe see if there's any sort of thing we can look at in terms of trading and investing. So the obvious one that comes to mind for me in the UK is Boohoo. These were probably one of the pioneers of this kind of fast fashion thing, online e-commerce brand. They do a variety of things, and literally it's exactly what we just talked about. They've got stuff that's coming on straight from the fashion, straight into the store, and they hammer the advertising, and they sell a lot of product. So look at the chart here. I mean, this thing has gone from kind of low of 25 all the way up to, you know, 250. Yes, it's had a little bit of a hit recently, but it's done very, very well. And that's purely because, I mean, the market cap now 1.8 billion as I do this video, purely because, you know, the fact they've been able to scale this thing up so big, so quickly. If you look at another one, which is Associated British Foods, now you might think, why is there a food company in here? These guys own Primark, and if in the UK you're fully aware of Primark, very, very cheap clothing, very, very cheap shoes, very at the lower end of quality. I mean, I'm going to make a sweeping statement there, but it's, you know, a value product. Again, they're looking at getting stuff that's kind of influenced by the catwalk straight into the stores. These are store-based, by the way. I'm sure they've got an e-commerce outlet as well. Who hasn't these days? But these are store-based. You see these on the high street. Always super busy. Controversy over these guys because of their practices in terms of the supply chain and manufacturing, but it's the way it is. Again, though, if you look at this, I mean, obviously this is Associated British Foods, which own Primark and other brands, but again, similar kind of chart, done very, very well over the past few years, and then kind of stagnated a little bit. BWNG is in Brown Group. Now these, maybe they're not quite fast fashion, but I'm going to put them in the same kind of group. They do have a few different types of brands, and they have got a lot of online presence, a few stores knocking around. But again, this is the same kind of company. This is not doing as well as the others. This has obviously had a bit of a spike here. Something has been going on back whenever this was, back in the year 2000. Maybe it was just purely because of the old hype back in those days. Who knows? But it's an interesting stock nevertheless, because at the moment it's under that 100 level. It's been up to 600. This is a real mover. Market cap 258 million, not doing as well as some of the others, but maybe you want to look on the watch list if this kind of thing takes off and pushes back up again in the next few years. ASOS, really this is the kind of headline company, if you like, for this whole kind of fast fashion thing. They were pioneers on it. I said Boohoo were, but actually I think ASOS were really. They came out with this online product offering. They would just have very good value clothes on there, and they would again be very, very quick to get something from the catwalk to people's hands. And you can see the explosion it's had from sort of one of the lows back in even 10 and those 3 or 4 years. Bit of a dip off, but it went back to new highs. It's been hammered a bit recently, and this is kind of what's brought it to my attention. It was down 40% literally the other day, based on a kind of interim pre-Christmas statement. But, you know, it's one to watch. Again, this is one to kind of keep an eye out, because not that I've dug in excessively into the fundamentals of these companies, I'm just purely interested from a perspective of curiosity at the moment, maybe putting on some watch lists for some potential trades in the future. But you would assume that if they're online brand, the overheads aren't generally as much as the kind of bricks and mortar business. And then SuperDry, I've put SuperDry in here. It probably shouldn't be in here if I'm sort of honest with you. It's really more of an actual brand as opposed to a manufacturer, and they kind of manufacture their own. They've got a very specific design, but I guess the concept is similar. A lot of and these have got a lot of stores as well, bricks and mortar stores, and the high street in the UK. I'm not sure how the international exposure is, but same kind of concept with these. These are perhaps not so much fast fashion, but I thought I'd include it anyway, because I know that this is a kind of potentially one of those things that comes into fashion, comes out of fashion. So anyway, the point of this is to maybe add these to the watch list. Ask you guys if you know of any others that we should be putting in our watch list. Stick them in the comment section below. I think this is something that could play out quite nicely and could present some trading opportunities. I mean, we only have to see, you know, ASOS dropping down 40%, and some of these coming off the highs, Associated British Foods, you know, in Brown right at lows. There could be some potential trading opportunities here, and I think these are separate from kind of retail plays, and looking at them as perhaps a different separate play, whereas potentially people mistake by putting them all into the retail bundle. But for me, it's a slightly different model, different demographic, different business model, different approach, different costs, etc. So fast fashion, worth looking into. Those are some stocks that I'm watching. Take care, guys. See you next one. Bye bye.